All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Final block here. We're going to turn our attention to the NBA. Let's see, storyline last night, Chris Paul returned and ended up hitting 15 of his 17 points after halftime, had 13 apples. Suns' 7th straight victory, and they clinched the first overall seed in the NBA playoffs.
And D-Book.
Yeah, D-Book was kind of a big deal,
49
right?
49 points.
49, yeah. Can't really bury that.
There is no Kardashian curse because Kendall is not a Kardashian. She's a Jenner.
Oh, that's actually interesting when you put it that way.
Yeah, so people talk about the Kardashian curse with professional athletes, but it doesn't apply because Kendall is, I mean, she did date Ben Simmons.
Okay, all right.
But she clearly,
we're going down a rabbit hole
that was
here.
Just an anomaly, I'm just saying.
All right.
Also, DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, so there could
now
be a curse
an enemy
there.
of this show.
Is there a parlay curse with DeJounte Murray? Look what he tweeted last night. They're so mad when them parlays don't hit.
And then,
yeah, we would like a word because, yes, we are upset when people's parlays don't hit.
Why is that funny to you?
It's not. It's not.
I mean, I get it. They probably get harassed all the time on the internet.
Probably.
But
let's see possibly what some of our basketball analysts would like to think you should work into a potential parlay tonight. DraftKings contributors Jeff Pratt and Matt Meiselman here for some NBA shoot-around. 7 games on the slate tonight, dudes. Matty, who are you paying up for in DFS?
Well, I think this is a slate that's going to have way more value plays than pay-up options because we're at the point in the season where rest is just normal, and there's probably some news that we haven't gotten yet that we're going to get at some point today. Having said that, I think that 2 guys who are in pretty safe spots are in the head-to-head matchup between Minnesota and Dallas, Karl Anthony Towns, Luka Doncic. I'll take the Luka side. I think that a decent amount of people will be on him, but this is just someone whose usage rate is through the roof, and I don't really think there's a great option on this slate. I think Joel Embiid is going to get more of a look than Luka, but the price difference between those guys, I think that makes sense that Luka's lower owned. So it really comes down to this. I think Luka is the more contrarian of the pay-up options. Ultimately, though, I don't feel great about this range, so I'm a little more excited to talk about value plays, but I think Dallas is in a really important spot, and that's maybe what breaks the tie for me is that the Mavericks do need to try to win games right now to avoid the play-in tournament.
Jeff, 4 dudes that'll cost you at least 10 grand. You want one of them?
Maybe. I like taking a look at Joel Embiid, like Matt was saying. I think that Luka might be the better option, but if you want to pay all the way up, Joel Embiid at 11.2K makes the most sense to me. I mean, he's the MVP favorite on DraftKings Sportsbook right now for a reason. The guy shows up and performs every single night. He's racked up 56-plus DK fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games, and he should have no problem staying hot against the Clippers, who rank 21st in fantasy points allowed to centers. If you want to look a little bit under that 10K range, I like Donovan Mitchell too at 9K. The Jazz got dominated by the Celtics on Wednesday, but Mitchell still got his 50 fantasy points. He was relatively efficient as well. The West is tight in the 4 to 7 seed range, and he's doing everything he can to keep the Jazz out of the play-in games. He scored 30-plus points in 4 straight games. Everything runs through him on offense. He's seen a usage rate of 35% or higher in 5 straight, and that shouldn't change against Charlotte. The Hornets also rank near the top of the league in pace this year, so Mitchell should see more opportunities than usual.
Okay.
All right, Jeff, where are you looking to save some salary? A couple nice games on here.
I'm looking at that Warriors game. Otto Porter Jr. has really stepped up for Golden State, and they were looking for offense with Steph Curry out. But he's seen a usage rate of 18% or higher in 3 straight games, and he scored 37-plus DK fantasy points in back-to-back contests. Where he's really getting work done is on the glass. He's racked up 15-plus rebounds in each of his last 2 games, which is a little surprising considering he's only averaged 5 boards per game in his career. The Hawks are really struggling. As of late, they just lost to Detroit by 21, and they've been dropping games against bad teams left and right. Atlanta ranks 25th in DK fantasy points allowed to big men. So Porter Jr. has a ton of value at 4,600 for me.
All right, Matt, you said this is your zone here today, that you like these value plays. So where are you going?
The spot I'm looking, it doesn't seem like they have value plays yet, but Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson are both game time decisions. The Knicks are basically eliminated from playoff contention at this point. I don't see why they would play partially healthy veterans in this matchup. It's just not one they need to win against the Miami Heat. So Obi Toppin's $4,500. And the thing that's exciting about this situation is the game is at 8 o'clock, which means that as game time decisions, we probably aren't going to find out about Randall and Robinson until after the slate locks. So that should mean that if Toppin gets the start, he's a lot lower owned than he otherwise would have been if we knew the whole day that Randall wasn't playing. And last game, Obi Toppin played 40 minutes and was really good, and the Knicks beat the Hornets on the road. So the minutes should be there. And this, I think if we knew Randall was out right now, Toppin would be the most popular player on the entire slate. But because this news might come later, I think less people will be aware of it. So this is all contingent on Toppin getting the start and Randall being out, but I do think that's likely. So I'm really excited about this Knicks situation if those guys don't play.
Last one here, guys. Jeff, which team is covering tonight?
I think the Sixers should cover at minus 5.5. Everyone's healthy for Philly as they have a legitimate shot at the top seed in the East. But this is more about the Clippers. Ty Lue's a phenomenal coach. I think very highly of him, but there's only so much you can do when your team is as decimated as LA is right now. They've lost by 6 or more points in 4 of their last 6 games, and they're struggling to hit triple digits in most of them. Between Harden, Embiid, and Maxey, that's just too much firepower for the Clippers to keep up with. Philly also ranks inside the top 10 in defensive rating this year. And when I look at LA's lineup, there are barely any matchups I see that could work in their favor offensively. These are games that you just have to win decisively as you gear up for a deep playoff run. So the Sixers should take care of business tonight.
Matty, not a lot of big spreads on this slate.
Well, there's one that I think should be a lot bigger than it is, and that's in Atlanta, where the Hawks are only minus 2.5 against the Warriors. Like Jeff said, the Hawks have been struggling, but for me, that just explains why the line is too low. I think there's a bias here that the Hawks just played probably their worst game of the season in Detroit. So if anything, to me, I think that they care a lot to bounce back from that. The Hawks are fighting for playoff position as much as anybody. And the Warriors did win in Miami with all of their backups, but this is a team that's really struggled for most of the year. And I think that that's, or at least the second half of the year when they've had injuries to Draymond Green and now Steph Curry. So I think this is definitely being masked by the fact that the Warriors won their last game and the Hawks lost their last game. I think the Hawks are the better team, and with home court advantage, they should be favored by a few more points than they are.